You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I'm pushing them back from the saloon to the airwaves. I'm spitting it raw. Constitution's my compass, liberty's law. Big guns creeping, shadows on the land. Feds with the schemes trying to bind up my hands. But I'm the Sherpa, guiding through the storm. Red, white, and blue, yeah, freedom's reborn. They spin their tails, but I see through the haze. Media maggots, lost in the maze. I'm calling it out, no fear in my soul. This patriot's fire ain't losing control. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Freedom's calling. Let this judge is twisted, trying to steal our rights, but I'm locked and loaded, got them in my sights. From J6 to the border, they're selling us out. I'm screaming from the mountain, hear my rebel shout. They mock the flag, but I'm holding it high. Stars and stripes forever under God's open sky. No globalist chains gonna cage this land. I'm the Sherpa with the truth in my hand. They push their agenda, but I'm breaking the mold. Their promises empty, their hearts ice cold. Chicago's bleeding, borders torn apart. I'm fighting for the people with the warrior's heart. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. I've walked the line, 41 years, badge on the grind, now I'm on the air. My voice like a blade, cutting through the lies that the traitors made. Hurricanes rage, but we're standing tall. Sheriffs of the Constitution answering the call. From the saloon to the heart of the fray, we're taking back America, no more delay. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Static, hear my voice resound. Conservative Sherpa, freedom's battleground. Berserk, Bobcat, rolls will never kneel. For God and country, this fight is real.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. I am predominantly healed. If I had your forehead in front of me, I'd put my hand there and go, heal. I'm healed, brother. I'm not healed. Interesting things. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that tonight. Tonight is mostly about all the craziness that's occurring in Providence with the, this is so sad. I almost called the guy a gentleman. And that's years of working in radio, actual valid radio instead of, Mr. Opine. And I didn't even get through my standard gig shin, which is, what you're about to hear for the next 2 hours or so consists of my opinion and my opinion only, because I am fundamentally changing America one leftist diaper at a time. And of course, we don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversations. We are still serving stiff drinks in the saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, clarity, tradition, and common sense. And we talk about politics and religion and crime, culture, race, sex, economics, science, law. Everything is discussed here, where the speech is free, but the booze is certainly not. Thanks to everyone who happens to be watching tonight. Thanks to the folks who watched on KLRN on Tuesday, the resizzle from yesterday, courtesy of Licky Lob. Always appreciated. The only thing that I really care about is that in terms of numbers, I beat Sean. So other than that, most everything else is immaterial, except for this crazy thing, because this is ongoing. There's nothing to talk about tonight except this. And if you've been actually living on the planet, or you've been actually watching TV, then you already know that the suspect in the Brown University murder of 2 people and shooting of a number of others, and also essentially the assassination of an MIT professor, that suspect is in custody, and they tracked him to a storage facility, as you can see right here, and he was found dead. This guy is a 48-year-old Portuguese guy. The MIT professor who was shot and killed is a Portuguese guy. There are so many questions. There are so many answers, specifically unanswered. I will go through a bit of a history as to what we have as far as we know it. Welcome to everybody in chat. Sean is here. Rick Robinson is here. Unleash Jeremy Hansen, Phantom. I can't go up in chat, but I think I saw Mission Ready Men. A bunch of other people whose names I can't remember because I can't remember what I had for dinner tonight. So to everyone, one and all, thank you for being here already. There are a bunch of comments in chat. Thank you. If you wish, by the way, to partake in the chat room, by the way, I should mention the SHR Media YouTube page. We are 2 subscribers away from 700. We wanted and we pled on bended knee. We genuflected everywhere. And we are only now 2 away from hitting the magic mark of 700 subscribers for 2025. Now, it shouldn't shock anyone that past the new year, there will be another pogrom pushed to make sure that we have, 720, 730, 750, 775. I'll not kill that want directly, but it should be no shock that we'll likely be pushing for that come the next year. If 2025 is any indicator, 2026 will be equally as stupid, silly, frightening, and fattening. 2026 is God. Okay. The other thing besides subscribing is when you're in there to the SHR Media YouTube channel, make sure that you click on that bell, because what that does is that allows you to get notified as to when any of our fabulous shows are on. And also, if you wish to, in fact, be in that aforementioned chat room, the only chat room that I go to, that I monitor essentially, is the SHR Media YouTube chat room, which is why I highly recommend that. What you could be watching on Rumble right now. I'm looking at Rumble just to make sure that my feed is moving. And there are no people in there because I try to move everybody, if I possibly can, over to the SHR Media YouTube channel chat page. Because if nothing else, I can see all of that right there on my screen, and I can respond to you. So thanks to everybody. I'm myself up to 138 followers on my Rumble channel. And also, while you're here, if you would, please share the show from everywhere. Everywhere and everywhere and everything and everything. And also, as I indicated, thanks to KLRN's Rick Robinson for simulcasting the show tonight, the really big shoe, because things are just crazy wuggy and wuggy crazy. You know, I almost have to kind of start out by stating the obvious, although I'm of the mindset that, of course, even though it may be obvious, it still needs to be stated with any amount of obviosity that I can possibly engender myself. Any and every amount of trust and confidence in every form of government, including law enforcement, is predominantly going away. And that's essentially the theme for the show is government failure, a system failure. It keeps failing. And because it continues to fail, what do we plan to do about it? You know, trust is going away in government, certainly in law enforcement. And we know as human beings inherently that once trust is gone and people are removing it, in my opinion, with intent, it almost never returns. How do you get it back? You got to work really hard. How many people are actually interested in working hard to reacquire public trust? Not many. So I am done. You know, I have to say, this morning on Earl Jackson's Mission Ready Men show, Earl was so kind with regard to all of the craziness that's exploding all around the planet today, particularly in the United States. Earl is a gentleman. And my kudos to Earl. You should be watching the Mission Ready Men show every Tuesday and Thursday. He's on the same days that I am, except he's at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Central, and noon on Eastern. Mission Ready Men from Earl Jackson. He was on today. He truly was much kinder than I have ever generally been in the past, or you'll ever find me being, because my job is not to do that. My job is to opine. My job is not to be, I'm not a news guy. If you want to see news, if you want to see leftist crap, then go everywhere else. I'm an acquired taste, and people either enjoy me, they like the thing, or they don't. But it shouldn't surprise anybody that for 2026, I'm not changing. Not at all. So because of that, I'm done with a whole bunch of things. I say bipartisan and compromise, bipartisanship and compromise, done. And I'm done providing most people the so-called benefit or the doubt of the doubt, or essentially circumspection, I guess, if you will, because I have been dragged consistently, largely, bigly. I've been dragged kicking and screaming into that corner where, yeah, my belief systems have been demolished, essentially. Everything is manipulated or coerced or controlled or shadowed or hidden. The facts, massaged behind a deliberate lie, a curtain of lies and deceit and deflection. And so my circumspection and my allowance for mistakes and people misspeaking are over. but you would expect nothing less of me. Isn't it amusing how everything these days is now essentially a few variations on mostly a singular theme, and that's it. Government is corrupt, institutions are corrupt, government and institutions are working against the average American taxpayer with a power and a weight pretty much heretofore unencountered, despite their mostly being unmasked. You can't trust government. Once trust is lost, it seldom returns, as history proves. As Santayana stated long ago, there are now, of course, more questions than answers. We've had a couple of answers, I'll grant you that. And Providence PD and Brown University had been found to have essentially shat the bed from the start, even before the shootings. More information will be revealed about that. We've discovered the suspect, a 48-year-old Portuguese national. So, as far as I can determine, guess what he is? That's right, he's an illegal invader. He'd been planning this for some amount of time. So, the suspect had a storage unit in his name where his car was found, and it was discovered that he had killed himself inside the unit, as you can see in this story. The MIT victim, as it turns out, was Portuguese, as was the suspect. No one is stating any amount of linkage between that, but of course, you and I, because we're smart individuals, we know there is a linkage. We just want to know, like normal human beings, okay, what is that? The entire incident has essentially done nothing more than ensure that nobody trusts Brown University, nobody trusts the Providence Police Department, and the Brown Campus Police Department. Almost every bit of it was an exhibition of total scrotal failure and incompetence. Not too terribly dissimilar, although slightly different variations on a theme than the Uvalde school shooting. If you go back and remember that, how competent and wonderful was the Uvalde Police Department. And quite frankly, Sean and Earl and Jersey Joe, we have a green room ourselves behind Twitter, where we discuss all sorts of things. And I postulated in that, and there were Sean and Earl and Jersey Joe and me were flying shit back and forth. Mission Ready Men in chat. Good to see you. All sorts of things were flying back and forth behind the scenes in our chat room. And one of the things I said is, you know what? I bet, quite frankly, that things actually got rolling on this case because Providence PD involvement in it became limited. That may or may not be proven. Those are my thoughts. I opine, and this is my show. However, one of the things we determined is that instead of apparently 800 cameras all around the Brown University campi, and that campus is, I think someone said, it's pretty small, a quarter mile by about a quarter mile or so. Brown, in fact, had 1,200 cameras, and very few of them went to the monitoring area where people could see in real time what was truly occurring on those cameras. My guess would be is because students themselves raised some kind of potential kerfuffle that we don't like being monitored. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. One of the other things that I should care to point out is that Brown University has a $9 billion endowment, and it is from there. The last thing that I heard is that, well, now they're claiming they're poor. Now they're claiming they're in debt. And apparently cuts had to be made, mister. We don't know for a fact here, but those cuts may involve security. Now, there's a report that apparently gets issued called the Clary Report from all colleges and institutions. I don't know what the terms are making that applicable, but Brown was subject to that report. My guess would be that for whatever reason, the security of Brown and the cameras, etc., their department was glossed over. Wait, BZ, as the amazing Karnak, what do you see in the future? Oh, I see some lawsuits. Don't you? I see lawsuits against Brown University. I see lawsuits against the administrator. I see lawsuits against Providence PD, if for no other reason that the person of interest who was the white military guy sniper who immediately it was announced, we have one in custody, and no, we don't. That's the wrong guy. That's going to be a story in and of itself, how that happened to occur. So how and why is it that Brown University, with that $9 billion endowment, how did they screw the pooch on that? And the next question of obviosity is, okay, if they'd been doing their actual jobs with the money, with the amount of money that they possessed, absent the debt, is it not entirely impossible that that MIT professor would be alive today? That's another question that logical thinking human beings have to ask. And I'm sure that you've posited that question yourself if you've been keeping your finger on kind of sort of the pulse of what's been going on. Now, they haven't said outright, but if the casings and the ballistics match, and I think if I've got the information correct, and obviously the chat room will correct me, I think there was a semi-auto 9mm used in this. So if there's a match in ballistics between casings and striations, depending on what's been found, then there's rightly going to be the proverbial shitstorm of biblical proportions. It cannot be any other way. You know, the interesting thing is, to confuse things even more, is that the second man of interest in that, or the second man identified, was determined to be some kind of a homeless guy allowed to live on the Brown campus because he was described as some kind of a super genius. Luckily, at this point, he's using his super geniosity for good and not for evil. And if you happen to see any amount of the press conference that was going on, it's either concluded or it's just now it's about a bunch of stupid mouth music from other people. It was nothing up front, certainly nothing more than a huge self-congratulatory session of adoration and praise, when in fact none of the people that were taking it up front at the beginning of the press conference were due any of that. Nobody deserved any praise because of that. And the other thing is, this has been avoided. I still see no refutation, I guess you could say, whatsoever, of the suspect having said Allahu Akbar in the Brown classroom. Now, the Brown University person in charge, I can't think of, it's her name, the president, can't tell people. Apparently, there was no such thing as a roster. I can remember in college having to sign in to classes so that people knew whether I was actually in attendance or not. Perhaps that doesn't happen anymore. But they're estimating that between 40 and 60 may have been in the classroom. And if you look at the photograph, it's a big lecture hall with kind of like theater seating, lower on the ground, higher behind, a brick wall on the left, and a big lectern and a bunch of boards and whatnot on the front, a door on the left. They don't even know who was in there, how many people have been interviewed, where they've gone, and all the rest of the people, their potential witnesses, have skied. And they've done that quite some time ago, because guess what? It's Christmas break. And so whatever immediate information you could have gleaned from those people is now flopping. It too has skied away into the wind. Now, whether they're going to be able to send folks out, and it will take apparently quite a few folks to track everyone down, because how would you know if in fact it's true that there is no roster? UBG is in chat. Thanks for being there. Jeremy Hansen is in chat. So many things were lost in this. So many pooches were screwed, SCROOD, from the get-go in this. It's going to be difficult to recover. The biggest amount of positivity, Reaver of Common Sense says, I am not in chat. Okay, said the Reaver of Common Sense in the chat room. The greatest amount of positivity is that once a lot of the investigation moved over to other people, I'm guessing state police, FBI, I don't know a list of all the other people. I believe ATF was involved in some fashion. Not that I'm their biggest friend or advocate, but there were apparently several agencies that were involved. And once it got removed just because of the steamrollerish nature of all of it, then that's apparently when clues began to become emerged. There were revelations. And because of that, then the investigation continued to really roll, because Providence PD, once it was kind of yanked from their jurisdiction, I cannot say that, one of the biggest things, and I told Earl that I would say this, one of the biggest things that Earl said about 30 minutes into his show this morning was that the greater amount of silence that you hear from officialdom, government, law enforcement, etc., about anything from which you would have questions, whether Muslims are involved, whether illegals are involved, whether it's a shit show of massive proportions, the more information that is hoarded up front, and the less that people say about these things, or they obfuscate, or they give clear indications that they know, but they're not going to tell you, or all of those things can be solved simply by saying, it's kind of an if-then equation. If, as a PIO or a rep of whatever government agency you happen to be aligned with, if people will understand and respect, I don't know, or I can't tell you at this point because of the investigation, and you should know that this is very early and we don't have a grasp exactly of where it is that this misadventure is taking. We don't know whether it's going over here or over there. And it was the true shit show from the beginning. To my way of thinking, there were misleadings, there were intimations of, we know the answer to the question that you're posing, or the questions, plural, that you're posing, but we're not going to tell you. Just say it. Just say, we're not going to tell you. We can't tell you. You can ask the rest of the questions, but we're going to be upfront in terms of we can't tell you. If you want to find some kind of way, means, or fashion that government can possibly screw up an investigation, essentially all you'd have to do would be to look at this investigation and then say, if we want to do things correctly, do the exact opposite of this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Listen in to the Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a show equipped for bombast. Tune in Mondays and Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Pacific, featuring a refreshing dose of reality. Jersey Joe fearlessly tackles the tough topics with no nonsense. Just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com, where you can hear the Reaver of Common Sense in action. He may not always be polite. He may not always be refined. But one thing's for sure. He always tells it like it is.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out 7 Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with 7 Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passionate.
Are you looking for bold and honest conversation about the issues shaping America? Well, let me welcome you to Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen, where we take you beyond the headlines. We dive into politics and culture, struggles of everyday life. It's raw, real, and unfiltered. If you're ready for truth with a punch, pull up a chair and join us. That's right, Unleashed 101, where real talk feels like home. Find us at unleashed101.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. We look forward to seeing you. Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I'm back. I'm nationwide. I'm BZ. Thanks for being in the show today. Thanks for being in the chat room. Thank you for watching live. If you watch it later on in podcast, thank you for doing that as well. It is December the 18th, the year of our Lord 2025. And tonight I'm doing a show about basically our lovely government and how it continues to exceed and break through expectations. There's nothing like a good government to make you feel assured that your government is keeping your security, keeping your mind in mind, doing its job for all the hard-earned American taxpayer dollars that you happen to throw at it. You know, that's in fact comforting. Here's the Jake update. He's eating a little bit. We had to go back to giving him IV bags. We gave him one yesterday. He had a little bit a couple of pieces of physical food to eat today, but that's about it. He's kind of sort of about the same, with the exception that at least this has been consistent. He still gets up at all hours of the day and night. He still goes outside through the dog door to the out of doors. It snowed today. He does whatever he needs to do several times a day and comes right back in through the dog door, especially at night. Let's see. I don't know if you can even see this. No, you can't see it from that photograph. Both of his eyes are clouded. He has a really bad cataract in his left eye, and he's totally blind in his right eye. Poor bastard. So basically, it's just palliative care, and we're taking the best care of him that we possibly can. So here's the guy that they discovered is the suspect, a dude named Claudio Neves Valente. They say he's a legal resident from Portugal. Then I heard that he's a Portuguese national. So his immigration status, I don't know. Can't say, but apparently he and the MIT student whom he killed are both Portuguese. We'll have to find out what the hell that linkage is, the likes of which, yeah, there will be a linkage. He's a graduate student at Brown. And of course, that would explain why he knew where to go, how to go, why to go, because he had, over the past week or more, made sure that he'd examined most every aspect of that university, perhaps even already knowing about all of those things. Probably one of the last times that I'm going to mention that name. Funny thing is that MIT professor, I think, was the same age, also from Portugal. And that MIT professor was head of the physics department, I'm fairly sure. And then this is the official document saying that, yep, we're stating this guy is responsible for the Brown shooting and also responsible for the MIT professor's murder. Now, there is some very clear linkage there. Beforehand, they had said, okay, well, we expect that there is some kind of linkage there. And, I'm going back a day or so. They were taught, by the way, as I say before, if you want to look into and investigate these articles and the videos and whatnot that I put up, they will be in the show notes, not in YouTube because I can't fit them all in YouTube. There isn't enough space there. But the SHR Media channel on Rumble, if you go to BZ's Saloon and you click on this show, you will see all the links that I will play for you. And then if you want to, use it as research or a repository of how and why and where this thing evolved, or perhaps devolved at first, you can go there and find those necessary links. I always like to make sure that I do that for each show. Then here also on ABC's is a timeline of the Brown University shootings and the MIT slaying. So this occurred at Brown University. The shooting and the murder of the MIT professor occurred, what was that, like 50 miles away or so, something like that, occurred 2 days later. So first, to get the chronology correct, it was the Brown shooting and, of course, the MIT shooting. Let me put this up because this was floating around for about, this is a minute video, I believe.
Brother goes, that doesn't even look at me. He goes, but I had a hat on and
So can you explain the facility thing?
Okay, let me back this up because the sound was down. Go ahead.
This is a picture of the shooter. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and my brother goes, that doesn't even look at me. He goes, but I had a hat on and
So can you explain the facility thing?
It's he works at the self storage.
Is it okay if I record you?
Yeah, he works at the self storage over there, and he's a manager there. And the FBI was calling him trying to find out, you know, about the, because the guy has a storage unit there.
Storage unit in Salem, New Hampshire.
Yeah, so they were talking to them, trying to figure out everything. And so they got the information. They said, my brother's boss said, you can go home. If we need you, we'll call you back. Yeah. And my brother left, got in his car and started driving away, and they surrounded him. The FBI surrounded your brother's car. Ripped him out of his car, threw him to the ground, and put rifles to his head.
That's insane.
Fucking assholes. And he's trying to tell him, I'm the manager. You were
of the storage facility.
Yeah. Just talking to me. Extra space storage over there.
Shit happens. However, that is an indicator of how things transpire. Lots of mistakes are made. Some are made, I believe, with intent, and some are made just because of stupidity, Uvalde cowardice, you name it. And the other linkage was this. They found the car. They backtracked through that. That was another amount of linkage. And then I have to play this, if for no other reason than, you know, like I've said on this show, I use this show to document and archive some of the crazy stuff that occurs in life. And that's why I put this stuff here, if for no other reason than to archive these things. So if you want to go back and find out, hey, what was the transpiration of things that occurred, you can go back, or I can go back and look at some of this stuff. Here's what we know. This was a video from a day or two ago. It's about 2 minutes. While we know Brown's head of campus security, a moron who was fired from his last job for not having the proper credentials, they kept him. Brown's president may have removed security cameras from the campus at the behest of Palestinian activists. They'll find out about that. Providence City Council Chief of Staff is a genderless bisexual who was arrested for protesting at Trump Tower. Well, that's called a clue. Columbia-born Providence police chief has a nephew who ran one of the largest fentanyl rings on the East Coast. But hey, he'd make a great police chief for the town of Providence. By the way, if you hear any thumping or slamming in the background, it's snowing outside. I've got my window open. The door is closed, and the breeze from outside is making the door to the studio go clickety clank. Maybe you can hear it. Maybe you can't. Anyway, breezy, snowy outside. Let's hear.
And that is typical for that academic space.
So that right there is the mysterious campus safety chief, Rodney Chapman. Funny, we haven't really heard from him. Where's he been? Well, we just discovered the Brown University police chief isn't really a big fan of policing.
Huh.
He once said this: communities don't want policing done to them. How this guy came to Brown is a crazy story. He was the head of campus security at the University of Utah. And right after he was hired there, he was immediately suspended because he didn't have the proper credentials. Utah then told him, we're going to fire you or you're going to have to resign. What's it going to be? So Rodney resigned, and Brown said, we'll take you. And right before this shooting, Brown's police union issued a vote of no confidence in Chief Rodney. The chief's own men accused Rodney of endangering officers and creating a toxic workplace culture.
But he's still there.
Rodney should know the campus better than anyone. But all week, he's been hiding under his desk. He's obviously completely unqualified. Brown's the most liberal Ivy League school, and they take DEI more seriously than safety. The school's been under intense pressure from the Palestinian students. The president, who was a no-show at today's presser, has been heckled for years by Muslim underclassmen. She always bends the knee, but they heckle her anyway. Over the summer, radical left human rights groups demanded Brown disable their security cameras so Palestinian activists could raise hell under the radar.
Okay, a small aside, people have said, no, that's not true. They wouldn't do that. Well, apparently it's true.
Did they cave? We asked. No response.
Of course not.
It's not just Brown. The whole city is a DEI mess. You know who else was at the press conference? The Providence City Council Chief of Staff is a genderless bisexual who was arrested for protesting at Trump Tower this year.
BZ interjects, no, that's a dude. If you reach down there, you'd probably find a big handful of junk.
Meanwhile, the police chief could be compromised. Turns out the chief's nephew was sentenced to 22 years in federal prison for running one of the largest fentanyl rings in Rhode Island.
Nah.
And Mayor Smiley promoted him to chief knowing his family was trafficking. Why would Smiley do that? Oh, because Smiley and the chief speak the same language.
So that's one video. That's one for the archive. I believe there are more, if I'm not mistaken. Let's listen to this then.
Do you have a theory on this case? Was this a crime of opportunity? This was a soft target. Guy goes in, comes out, and that's it? Kind of mad at the school? Or was he going in there to kill a specific individual?
Yeah, in my earliest media hit on Monday morning, that's what I said. And as soon as I saw the name of Ms. Cook, who was the vice president of the Republican Club, I just couldn't rule that out. I look at this as a profiler. I've been on many task forces over the years, anthrax and the murder of a DEA agent, 2 professors murdered at Dartmouth College at their home. And we have to walk in with every single option. Where was someone specifically targeted? And to me, it's more than a coincidence that this young woman was killed, who happens to be one of the few probably representatives of the Republican side of the House in that particular very far left university.
Okay, stop though. Doesn't this beg a lot of questions? Because it seems as though the focus on the victim, the female victim, who is the VP of a Republican chapter on Brown, is that the proper focus? We seem to have clearly made the connection between the suspect, the shooter, and the MIT professor in education. But can we say that we really, really, beyond the shadow of any form of doubt, know the connection between the female that was shot and between the other student? I think he was in physics or something like that. He was in another area that demanded a modicum of smarts to do what he was doing. So I'm not sure I quite understand the linkage between those. Why did he go into that classroom? Is it tangential? I don't think so. There was a reason that he went in there. So what is the linkage between, we know, the shooter and the MIT professor? What's the linkage between the shooter and the 2 people that were shot and killed in the classroom? Information indicated that the female was shot 10 times in the head. Another BZ if-then equation. If that is true, then that was, in my homicide experience, that is meant extremely personally, very, very personally. But do we know for a fact that it was 100%, 110% conclusively true? I'm not so sure. I don't, here, this like Uvalde will become spoken about, sub rosa, in many law enforcement conferences and conclaves, I hope in the future, as to how not to fuck yourself so much that you almost cannot unfuck yourself out of a Uvalde or a Providence situation. Let me put this on the stage. This is where the chief says basically 5 days after the shooting, and we can't say for certain that we've gotten or know all the student eyewitnesses for this. How does that occur?
Explain to us 5 days later how many students were in that classroom. Sadly, 2 lost their lives, 9 others injured, encouraged about the update today. But can you now say how many kids were in that classroom? And did the gunman come in from the back so these people never knew it was coming? Or did he come in front full view of everybody.
And that's all part of the interviews, and actually we're cooperating with Brown to get the roster. That was a study hall, so we don't have the number. We're still getting information as far as who was there. I know Brown sent out an email to the students to notify us if they were present, and we're still getting that, so I can't give you an exact account now.
5 days. Okay. Parents of students who are at Brown University, one of the almost the very first thing that you should be pulling from this is my children are at a university run by bleeping incompetence, a mass throng of them, including the surrounding city and the police chief running that city and the mayor. There is no conclusion to draw other than this was a failure. It's a systemic failure. It's a government failure. And so make sure that you continue to place your kids in harm's way by continuing their higher education at Brown, if you will. It just, this kind of stuff to me is staggering. And then you've got this AG in the state of Rhode Island, Peter Nerona. He's asked about another guy that was sort of a, people thought that this guy named Mustafa, whatever the hell, all of a sudden his stuff gets wiped out of that. Well, why? Well, he goes off on that instead of just remaining calm and saying, we don't see any linkage. We don't know where that came from. If I were you, I don't think I'd place much credence in that.
Question about that name. And I know the name that you're asking about because a member of the media asked me about it. I am familiar with it. I wasn't familiar with it when the media member asked me about it. I think it was either CBS or NBC. I asked my team about it. I think this is an area where caution is really necessary. There are lots of reasons why a page might be taken down, particularly if there's chatter out there about, to your question, Amanda, about words that were spoken. It's easy to jump from someone saying words that were spoken to what those words are, to a particular name that reflects a motive targeting a particular person.
But do we know any of that information? No, we can't say for sure because we haven't even interviewed the students that were there in that classroom. Unless you start off in a proper fashion on the right foot. Cosmic Bard, welcome to chat. Good to see you here. Then you're getting in the way of your own investigation. That's the last thing that you should be doing, that you need. This is the other thing, and this information comes up. I asked Earl Jackson, Mission Ready Men, to send me this because, by the way, when I get through with Brown University, speaking about that, after the first of the hour, I have a Bondi Beach update from Australia, which is really amusing. Just a massive BZ-size sampling of irony, Mark 1, Model 1 irony, heaping in a blivet from a punch bowl. Go.
Joining us now is the national president of the Zionist Organization of America, Morton Klein. Good morning to you on this first day of Hanukkah, this targeted attack, taking 15 lives. It's just unspeakable.
And it was not only two Muslims, not people, two Muslims who murdered. It's actually 16 or more Jews intentionally targeting Jews on Hanukkah. But at Brown University, the person who shot and killed 2 students and injured 9 others were screaming Allahu Akbar before he shot these people. I have friends at Brown University who told me that's what he was screaming. Yet this has not really been reported in the press. So likely it's another Muslim. And by the way, at Brown University, it was a class taught by an Israeli Jewish teacher on Jewish studies who formerly taught at Hebrew University in Israel. So it was intentionally that class that this Muslim targeted.
Okay, so stop. But already the conflicts continue. Weren't we told by the people in the press conference that that was a study hall? And in a study hall, in my history, my collegiate history, a study hall was not necessarily something that was monitored by an instructor or a teacher. Sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. But the gaps that continue to exist in this can't help but engender what I believe is the truth is this is failure. This is money, good money thrown after bad, continuing good money thrown after bad for government failures. You know, I asked somebody, maybe it was in the SHR chat not long ago. I said, tell me the good things that have occurred because of government. Tell me what government is really good at. And I've said this before, and I've questioned a lot of other people. Tell me the best thing that government does. Tell me the best thing that government in education does, that government in healthcare does. Tell me about how government truly excels at least one thing, one venue. Can you make that clear? Almost no one can. This again continues to be the question. So a Turning Point USA chapter leader at Olivet Nazarene University was forced to take classes from home after he received death threats over political beliefs. Here's the death threat. I'm going to find you in Chapman and slit your throat in your sleep if you keep posting racist shit like that. Please post your God and Savior Charlie Kirk one more time. Just one more time, if you would, please. This is never ending. This never stops. The anti-Semitism never stops. But it can't help but make you question everything. And you should question everything, because you've been lied to, spit upon, looked directly in your eyeballs, and told that what you have just seen is wrong. You didn't truly see that, and you didn't truly hear that, which is why I try to archive these things, bring them to you so you can come up to your own sort of conclusion. But I'm going to try to throw as many things into the mix as I possibly can, so that at least we have an inkling as to what the history was involved in any of these things. And again, a question is this. Some people believe that Ella Cook was killed and hunted in cold blood. The College Republican of America founder says, do we know that for a fact? What is the linkage? Well, the truth is, because the suspect killed himself because he's a coward. He didn't even attempt suicide by cop, any face-to-face confrontation. Somehow sensed or knew that the investigation was corralling up around him and decided to take himself out. Well, yes, of course, that saves us the money of a trial. But it's never going to answer the true questions that people are going to have about this. You know, I get the MIT University linkage. What's the motive between going into the Brown classroom and killing two people? You know, are those two people linked up in any way? Will we ever know? I can't say for sure. And then the suspect isn't around to even question. It's just, it continues and continues. I believe this is Mark Halperin.
The Brown one's a little complicated because I don't know that any news organization has reported this, but I've been besieged with messages from people who are really concerned about the report. And again, I believe in being transparent here. If I were editing the New York Times, I don't think I'd put it in the paper, but But people are telling me that the family of Ella Cook, the Alabama young woman who was a sophomore, has been told that she was the target of what happened at Brown. I have no idea whether that's true.
Will we ever? Is it possible? I'm not sure. Suspect is dead, and
conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right, you can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. I'm going to go to this story in just a moment. I have a few more things. Probably looking at that and thinking, okay, BC, what the hell is that? Anyway, as you can see down below, if you would, share the show all over the place from the SHR Media YouTube channel from Rumble, from X, from wherever you encounter it, if you would please. And because I'm a smart guy, and damn it, Jim, look how close we are. The SHR Media YouTube channel is two people, 2 subscribers away from the magic number of 700 subscribers in 2025. 2026, I think, is going to be another very good year for SHR. So we beseechest thee, promulgate this show and SHR's YouTube channel all over the place. Share it like crazy. Share it like mad. Share it like the mad men and women you think that perhaps that you are, because you deign to lower yourselves to view this show. How wacky and wackalicious is that? Here's this will be in the show links. This is more information about the death threats towards the Turning Point USA chapter at an Illinois college. This stuff is not going to stop. If you think that it's going to stop, it most certainly will not. Here's another question. I'm going to do this story first, then we'll go into what's happening down in Australia. And I find this amusing, because whenever I see an article by the American media maggots, one of the first things I see or think of is, okay, like your elementary teacher would say, or your mathematics teacher would say, in figuring out this problem, show your work. Well, here's an article that says House Democrats release more photos from Epstein's estate. Okay. Show your work. Where's the information? The photos released Thursday were among more than 95,000 of the House Oversight Committee. Okay, show your work. Where are the photos? House Democrats already released dozens of photos from Epstein's estate. Show your work. Where's the one website pushed and promoted by Democrats and leftists showing, oh, clearly it's true. Here are little girls with President Trump. I debunked that bullshit on Tuesday night's show, as did SHR. If you want to find some great news stories, go to shrmedia.com. They've got tons of them right there. One of the story was, oh, the photo with the young, poor little 12-year-old debutantes. And their faces are blacked out to preserve their anonymity because they were so bullshit. More gaslighting, more crap. They were 22-year-old women and above, over 18, all of them. The crap never stops. And by the way, what are the Democrats? They are government. It's a government failure. It's systemic. And you know it. Now let's go to this particular story. This is a follow-up. Jack Alexander pointed this out to me. So let me hit the actual article itself. This occurred today. Police ram car taking men towards Bondi Beach to plan violence. New South Wales police said that after a tip-off, 2 cars were intercepted and the passengers, totaling 7 men, were being questioned. So an unmarked police car rammed a vehicle carrying a group of men believed to be traveling towards Bondi Beach, possibly planning a violent act. Stop. Gee, I wonder what that possibly could be. That wouldn't be Muslim men going after the Muslim and his family who disarmed the other Muslim that was killing people, killing Jews at Bondi Beach on Hanukkah. So you can't convince me that they didn't send their own little 2-car hit team to Bondi Beach. Why specifically to Bondi Beach except to do that and to make sure that snitches and their bitches get buried in ditches? Well, tell me what other interpretation you could possibly make from that. I myself cannot think of one. But Islam, government, leftists, and Democrats, there really isn't more than a dime's worth of difference between any of them. They're the Borg we are here to assimilate. And you either assimilate, you pay jizya, or we'll kill you. Wow, I just came up with that. I kind of like that. BZ even impresses himself every once in a while. This is also very interesting. This is about the FBI. Let's go here. Remember the guy named Enrique Tarrio? He was arrested because of J6. And now we know, verified by this, lies and damages, and proof of the lies and damages. And you can't tell me that this isn't won't be a massive compilation of suits in progress. To wit,
we had this conversation when we first knew that this clip was edited just a couple weeks ago.
Okay, that guy on the right was put in prison, in jail, on J6 because of his inclusion in as a J6 terrorist, but he was prosecuted behind a false, gaslit, heavily edited video. Now that information is coming out, and I brought you up a little bit to speed.
And we were talking about this clip was played at my trial. This exact clip that the BBC played was played at our trial. So not only did it affect the jury pool or affected the president himself, it affected justice, right? And in this case, it was people that were rabid anti-Trumpers in the jury pool. And this did not help the situation at all. By showing those words by the president, I think maybe we might take decisive action against the BBC also. But you also got to think about this, and it's one of the reasons why we're suing the DOJ.
By the way, the phrase that Trump used, go over to the Capitol, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember the exact phrase, in a peaceful fashion, completely excised.
The DOJ knew that those weren't the words by the president. And they knew everybody would be fooled by this BBC clip, because it kind of, if you look at it, it kind of looks like it just like flipped.
So get it? That BBC highly edited clip was used as evidence in Tarrio's trial, but it was fake. So the trial was fake. So it was political. It was a political activation, a political trial. Bring in all the guilty parties.
It almost looks like one entire clip. And they knew this, and they still brought this forward in front of the jury. And it wasn't, again, until a couple weeks ago that I figured out that, no, wait, this is not his words. I think they were like 40 something minutes apart. They weren't even close to each other. He wasn't even talking about the same thing.
I just actually thought of it as I'm sitting here right now thinking to myself, wow, President Trump has the case, but even maybe more so, the people who went to jail because of this fabricated evidence is unbelievable to me. So you're confirming that this is the clip that was played at your trial? I didn't know that.
Yes, this was a clip that was played at my trial. No, it's super insane. And I believe it was played at the beginning of our trial. And if I'm not mistaken, here's where I don't know. I believe it was put in there during closing statements.
Okay. There's only one way that people will learn something, because of the nature of humans itself. You and I, as common sense thinking human beings, know what it is. Those are consequences. So if people don't suffer consequences because of their actions, they learn nothing. And so the consequences should be lawsuits. Trump has a pretty darn skippy track record of winning lawsuits. Enrique Tarrio, in my way of thinking, also has a great set of potential lawsuits, not just with him, but against the DOJ perchance and the BBC. Somebody somewhere got to be some paying motherfuckers, or this shit will continue. Well, we've seen, absent consequences, people keep doing the same thing again and again and again. And frequently, people are no different than dogs or kids. If you don't make them pay consequences immediately up front so that they remember, then that behavior shall continue. Here's other behavior that continues at the behest of the FBI, proving again that these were politically activated, motivated prosecutions. The FBI itself, this is from the New York Post, says that they didn't think the line agents, that's the big difference. Then line agents didn't think that they had probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago for classified documents. And the FBI itself didn't think that those agents had PC to raid President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate back in August of 2022, 3 years ago. Time flies. But Joe Biden's DOJ decided, screw it, let's go. Let's go. I see some wonderful potential lawsuits here as well. The FBI is corrupt, as the day is long. I'm going to address this very briefly, because I'm sure that a lot of people are saying at this point, oh, hey, Dan Bongino's leaving the FBI. Serves you right. Well, a couple of points. I think that Dan Bongino thought that he could go into the FBI, make all sorts of discoveries, unearth important documents and records, and get to work with a big shovel and a big machete, severing the deep state from within the FBI. And I think Dan Bongino suffered the sort of the immediate, or perhaps not so immediate, Barack Hussein Obama PDB awareness hit on one of the first weeks of his being there. The PDB, and this is what's theorized, the PDB is the president's daily brief. And that's where the president has presentations made by various intelligence agencies, departments, cabinets, etc., when they lay out the information that's been culled or acquired through all sorts of intelligence reviews. And you generally start the beginning of the day with the PDB so that you have a fairly decent, depending on how biased the intelligence agencies are, because they are at the time. They're not a pirate, they just are. And I think Barack Hussein said, well, there's more stuff going on here than I possibly envisioned. Same with Danny. What was his quote? Cutesy time is over. And that was Dan's trademark on his show. Cutesy time is over. Well, it was over on his show. And he tried to make as many discoveries public as possible. And I think he went into the FBI and discovered that the nest and pit of vipers was so incredibly pervasive that after a certain amount of time, he determined that his ability to go in and make big change was essentially not going to happen. Now, I don't have any insight with regard to Kash Patel, his veracity, the working relationship between Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. I don't have any insight on that. Most of the people, I still speak to one or two people from the FBI, not frequently. They're retired, so they don't have a huge finger on the pulse of the FBI anymore. But I tend to believe that Dan Bongino came in, sat down, rooted through as many things as he possibly could, emptied all the trash baskets, turned all the burn bags upside down, and made an amazing lot of discoveries, to wit, This place is so foul and rife and corrupt with bullshit, with deep state agents from the very top floor on down. How do I even really truly get a grasp on any of this? It must have been a conflict of massive proportions in his head. Plus, wait for it. Apparently during the show, because I am a superior salesman. New York Bridge for you. We have gone up one subscriber to 699. Now we are one subscriber away from 700 subscribers for the SHR Media YouTube channel. To whoever that one subscriber was that just kicked us up, that just boosted us up, thank you from everything in my little clotted heart. So essentially, I think if I'm not mistaken, Dan Bongino said by January, I will be leaving. And then also, if I'm remembering correctly, there's no guarantee of that. There was a co-assistant director. How that guy got appointed and his name, I do not know. But was it because it was foreseen by Kash Patel or others that Dan Bongino's time in the FBI was not lengthy? So, like a duck on the top of the water, it seems serene. Maybe it's moving in a fashion on top of the pond, but underneath it's paddling like a bastard. That could be the FBI, and that could be Dan Bongino. Will we ever know the truth about Dan Bongino, what it is that he discovered? No. The other thing that I know is he took a serious damn hit in terms of his family life, and also a massive hit in terms of the amount of casherino that he was making because of his podcast. Now, maybe he had great intentions at the very beginning. I'm going to go in and I'm going to whip that department up. I'm going to whip the FBI into shape. No, apparently, what are there in the FBI now? 12,000? Roughly about 12,000 agents in all sorts of field offices and RAs all around the fruited plain. And not to even mention the places that are in all throughout the various countries. I think he was disappointed. That's, I think, about all I'm going to say about that right now. Perhaps he went in with the vision that I'm going to clean this place up, and he found out fairly quickly, most Ricky Tick, that that wasn't going to happen. And of course, at this point, you would say, BZ, I'm sure you're almost done with all of the things that you were here to bring forth to us tonight. No, I'm not. But I am going to continue with the FBI. And here's this. Also documents, as I indicated before, from the DOJ and the FBI. This link will be in my show notes and show links, indicating the FBI didn't believe it had PC, probable cause, to raid President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. But the Biden DOJ said, you're going anyway. So the proof continues. Is it impossible that the FBI was simply too corrupt for Dan Bongino? Not entirely. So here's something else of which we should be aware. This and maybe one more story in the bottom of the hour break. Anyway, this is Judge Janine Pirro. And here's a revelation.
That there certainly was an effort to, misclassify, mischaracterize certain categories of crime. And it was an attempt to make crime look lower than it was. And the investigation that we conducted over a period of several months based upon the report of the deflation of numbers was very...
Oh, stop. Who is that? That's DC's police chief, a black female lesbian, a DEI appointment from Muriel Bowser, if nothing else, answerable directly to Muriel Bowser. You can't convince me that this unit wasn't going late at night and deeply pleasuring Mayor Bowser personally behind closed doors, entering the back door, tacit approval. You can't tell me that that wasn't happening. But this unit was fudging the numbers. DC Metro was also sued successfully earlier for fudging crime stats. A captain was held to task for fudging crime stats so that Biden could specifically boast when he could boast on good days when boastage was possible. It's all lies. It's all lies. For those of you who just tuned in, it's a government failure. It's a systemic failure. It's all lies.
Thorough, as you indicated, over 6,000 reports were looked at, over 50 witnesses, and those witnesses were rank and file from the top down. But the bottom line here is this. Now we're in a situation with President Trump and the Attorney General Pam Bondi, where every case is being looked at. Every case is being reviewed by my office. So if it appears that the arrest is lower than what the facts show, we're going to upgrade that crime. And Dana, what's amazing to me is that the U.S. attorney before me in the Biden administration did not go forward with more than 65% of the arrests. That means that even if police made arrests, they weren't being prosecuted.
Okay, let me stop right there in case you just tuned in. Jeanine Pirro says the DC U.S. attorney under Biden ignored 65% of the cases in order to help fudge the crime stats and make them appear to look lower.
In my office, we go forward with over 90% of the arrest. We review them, we look at them, we see if the evidence is if the law and the evidence support the charging, and we go forward.
And so, well, that's what happened. It's all lies. It's all smoke. It's all mirrors. And again, the government failures continue. But I don't believe these are failures of Jack Alexander's in chat. Welcome to Jack. I don't believe these are just casual failures. No, I believe myself that these are all very intentional failures to make a point, to issue a point. And that point is that if we can hedge and lie and get away with it, then you people who are being gaslighted will simply go on your merry way, pay no attention. These are not the droids you're looking for.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log. Entry. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm back. It's the final half hour. You wouldn't believe how quickly I was able to get up out of this seat, rush into the electric winkle chamber, do what needed to be done, and then return before this ended. So sometimes when I have promotions and whatnot, they're not just for you. They're for all sorts of other people. So this is it. This is the last call for alcohol, everybody. I've said this for a long time.
Folks, this is BZ's final hour. Step up. Last call for alcohol.
Not kidding. And the other thing that I should care to point out as the show kind of tends to wrap up.
Behold the ancient, obese, conservative Sherpa in his natural element, a wondrous cornucopia of vibrant foliage festooned upon his face, various tiaras adorning that scabby pate, creating a veritable carnival of conservative cogitations and, some might posit, an overload of bulbosity, unrestrained. Please, citizens, avail yourselves of his liquid offerings as the saloon continues, unabated, like bad Bolivian gas station sushi.
And so we continue with the show, the last half hour of the show. I was going to talk about how Republicans are kind of screwing the pooch, if you will, but here's something that I wanted to make sure that people were aware of. Let me put this up here. The U.S. House just recently passed legislation criminalizing transgender sex transition surgeries for minors. Now, Democrats voted against it. 207 Democrats voted against it. The sad thing is 4 Republicans also voted against it. So it squeaked by in the House by 216 to 211. The Senate, who knows how that's going to go in the Senate. But that is, again, indicative of where we are today in terms of this is it. This This is, as I say, this is representative of our total scrotal failure in government. And the hits just keep on coming. The hits are Biden's. The inflation is Biden's. The price situations are Biden's. You can't mitigate truly, in reality, 4 years of continuing massive inflation in 11 months. But you have to say, I have to say at least, this is better than we thought.
The number of the morning, the CPI, maybe coming in a little bit better than expected. 2.7%, a little light here. I'm just reading the headlines here. Year over year, 2.7. Ex-food and energy core, 2.6. So 0.4 off. That is a very good number here. And it really, I have not looked at the internals. I'll look at them now, but it suggests that the internals are good as well. Let's see, year over year, over the last 12 months. There is no month to month, but some guys will be able to calculate. Seasonally adjusted index for all items less food and energy rose 0.2% over the 2 months. So correct my math here, Michael Santoli, but 0.2 divided by 2 is 0.1.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's a very, very low monthly rate here. The index for shelter increase, so you did get a really nice decline.
Okay, so stop. Will the Republicans capitalize on this? And the question is, I honestly don't know. Can they? Is it possible for them to capitalize it? In chat, NCX Group is in chat and just wished me a Merry Christmas. So thank you very much, NCX Group. I know who that is. I don't know if NCX Group wants to be revealed, but anyway, thank you kindly for that. Also, to continue, let me see if I have this particular story. There's that. I don't want to go there. This is also indicative of what I was talking about earlier. This happens to be the husband. This is essentially all you would need to know about Providence. This is the husband of the mayor, Smiley, of Providence, Rhode Island. Free Palestine will free us all, he says. So, another busy if-then equation. If Allahu Akbar was shouted in that classroom and we could find proof, this to me would be proof and evidence as to why that was and will be tamped down. Don't know for a fact, just suggesting. Because after all, it's my job, Meng. You know it, and I know it. Let me go here. I may end up going directly over to information about, this is a follow-up. I don't know if I'll play the whole thing, but Jean Pirro talked about it. And this is also more information confirming that Pam Smith, the DEI police chief from D.C., falsified crime stats.
The House Oversight Committee now releasing a report accusing the outgoing D.C. police chief of manipulating data to artificially lower crime statistics. Bill Malusian looking at the numbers. He's live on the Hill with this. Bill, what you find out?
Bill, good morning to you. Those House Oversight Committee Republicans say the bottom line of what their investigation found is that the outgoing D.C. police chief was essentially cooking the books on crime data and trying to make the city seem a whole lot safer than it really was. Now, those House Republicans say what their investigation consisted of was interviewing all 7 commanders of D.C. Metro Police's patrol districts, including a former commander who's currently suspended for allegedly tampering with crime stats in his own district. And
imagine that, exactly what BZ said. But it would appear that those 7 commanders decided individually or collectively that they were not going to hang behind Pam Smith. Great decision as far as I'm concerned. But again, it begs the question. Well, here's another thing. I may as well put this up because I still got 20 minutes before the end of the show. Here's the other thing. I wanted to get it more towards the FBI segment, but I just found it here. So, do armed citizens stop mass shootings? The answer, it turns out, is Yes. The Crime Prevention Research Center reports that armed citizens intervene in roughly 36% of mass shootings. By contrast, FBI data suggests interventions occur in 3 to 4% of cases. In some cases, they had stats indicating that they intervene 0%. So cooking the books, as you can clearly see, and you can make no other conclusion tonight, this is a government total scrotal failure. This is a systemic failure. Starts with DC, starts with the FBI, sadly starts with law enforcement, goes up and down the leftist Democrat food chain until people refute it. And there would be no refutation of any of this had Biden won or had Kamala Harris won. We know this would be clandestine and completely screwed over and ignored information. Does it not seem to you that almost every shooting that we've heard about recently, or every investigation that we've come upon recently, ends up with more questions than answers? It's like I kind of call it the Stephen Paddock Twilight Zone. Well, here's another that Brown, the MIT professor, that crap is falling into the Twilight Zone. This stuff fell into the Twilight Zone as well. The January 6th pipe bomber. You cannot tell me otherwise. The FBI under Biden did not place this investigation completely in ignore mode. And only did something become done under the current FBI with Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, soon to exit stage right, perhaps. But none of that crap made any sense whatsoever. A black guy called White, an autistic recluse computer nerd, not a Trump supporter. He's 30 years old, lives in Virginia, and then he confessed and told FBI interrogators that he holds anarchist views, and MS Now reported, citing unnamed sources. But it turns out that his Meemaw, Loretta, said he has no party affiliation and never votes. And he keeps him to himself, living literally in his mother's basement. If this isn't the Stephen Paddock Twilight Zone, I don't know what it is. And then we go further. As it turns out, this is Western Journal. The plot thickens. DC pipe bomber suspect's George Floyd connection has been uncovered. One would not have put money on the fact that the guy who put pipe bombs outside the Republican and DNC headquarters set to explode on January 6th had more ties to George Floyd than he did to Oath Keepers or election deniers. So apparently, as Larry Elder is the the black face of white supremacists, so is this guy too. May I remind you of Jake Tapper? Jake? Oh, stop. Jake, you're not cooperating with me. Now you're cooperating. Jake, go.
Ian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from the D.C. suburbs, is charged with transporting an explosive device in interstate. Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man. Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white. Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from.
A 30-year-old white man, says Jake Tapper. Clearly, this dude is again another Larry Elder, the black face of white supremacy. How do you do that? How is that possible? And then let's go back a little bit. I want to place this. I want to play this. This is 30 seconds of another moron in Congress. You know, those National Guardsmen being shot and killed in D.C. Well, that was just an unfortunate accident. Huh? Benny Thompson.
NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with National Guardsmen being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
It was a terrorist attack.
Wait. Look, I'll get it straight. Then you can.
He shot her.
I'll get it straight. No, you won't. That's intentional. That's nothing more than a government intentional failure. That's what I'm talking about tonight. And it continues, and it will continue unabated until people make it stop. You know, it's like, make it stop. Make it stop. And who are frequently the racists themselves? Hey, look, bet you didn't hear about this. James O'Keefe caught this dude on hidden camera, a Georgetown professor, calling black conservatives coons and saying he works with stupid white people. Candace Owens, another coon. Jonathan Franklin, take it away.
Because I was with a bunch of stupid white people. Lawrence is his name? Yeah, Lawrence, yeah. Lawrence, what do you think of him? I mean, he's just a sellout. He's like a coon. Clarence Thomas? The biggest coon of them all. What do you think of Candace Owens? Another coon. Have you ever heard of a guy named, no, his name is James O'Keefe. Well, the thing is that I actually am James O'Keefe. Are you? Yeah. No, you're not. No, I'm not. I'm not James O'Keefe. No, you're not? I am. Really? Yes. And you don't know that.
Okay, here we go. Isn't that grand? A black male racist, an abject racist. For those of you who just tuned in, a racist, a black male racist flees after calling the people, the black people, he doesn't like coons. I'm shocked, quite frankly, that he didn't call them all niggers. I'm sure that was on the tip of his tongue, and he wanted to say it so badly and just didn't. You can't convince me otherwise. And for those of you who just went 210 over 190 that BZ said the word nigger on the show, couldn't care less. It's just a word. But I can't say it. Here's a bit of, while we're on the topic of stupid people. Oh, BZ, you're excoriating everyone left and right. Well, you would expect no less, I'm guessing. Here is, let me put this up. Now, this is Ketanji Idiot Jackson, who can't tell you what a woman is, but she's on the Supreme Court. And then in oral arguments, she decided to say that, President Trump is kind of ruling like a monarch. And the issues, the people with the PhDs should be the people making the decisions. This is again revolving around the CP Consumer Protection Board and all the deep staters who make rulings and rules and laws and rules and regulations, who aren't essentially overseen by anybody. And this is umbrage saying that, well, we're taking this to court, saying that we should be able to remove people from these boards because they are clearly agendized, and she's having none of it.
Some issues, some matters, some areas should be handled in this way by nonpartisan experts that Congress is saying that expertise matters with respect to aspects of the economy and transportation and the various independent agencies that we have. So having a president come in and fire all the scientists and the doctors and the economists and the PhDs and replacing them with loyalists and people who don't know anything is actually not in the best interest of the citizens of the United States. These issues should not be in presidential control. So can you speak to me about the danger?
You could say the same of the cabinet, could you not? The president chooses the cabinet and with luck chooses the people like Bessent, who come from a background of knowledge, fiscal knowledge, far and above yours.
Of allowing in these various areas the president to actually control the Transportation Board and potentially the Federal Reserve and all these other independent agencies. In these particular areas, we would like to have independence. We don't want the president controlling. I guess what I don't understand from your overarching argument is why that determination of Congress, which makes perfect sense given its duty to protect the people of the United States, why that is subjugated to a concern about the president not being able to control everything.
Stop. Who inserted the people on the CPSC? Well, yes, those were mostly Democrats. The FCC board, those were mostly Democrats. That's fine. That's okay. When the right people, I should say, when the left people are appointed, that's fine.
I mean, I appreciate there's a conflict between the two, but one would think under our constitutional design, given the history of the monarchy and the concerns that the framers had about a president controlling everything, that in the clash between those two, Congress's view that we should be able to have independence with respect to certain issues should take precedence.
So what she just did is she called President Trump a king. It's monarchy. That means he's a king. Well, here's the funny thing about her. This is her. And that's what BZ does, the logical extension, because, well, she didn't know what she... Can you define a woman? And the answer is no, I can't. Here's some other things. Let's go back a little bit. I got enough time for maybe these two stories. Then I'm going to have to say TTFN. Ta-ta for now. Here's a story. Remember the government shutdown, and remember what the government shutdown exposed. This is from Just the News. This is an outlet that I very much trust because they do sourcing properly. Obama's inconvenient truths exposed during the shutdown. Experts said, when he said, if you like your health care plan, you can keep your health care plan. Well, no, you couldn't. So Obamacare made a lot of those health plans themselves illegal. After years of Democrats calling American people that former President Barack Obama's Affordable Care Act, the ACA, was a thriving system, what the shutdown revealed is the glaring truth during the government shutdown is not only has the ACA resulted in widespread fraud and allegations of kickbacks to insurance companies, the American people are footing the bill for subsidies to hide the fact that Obamacare is broken. E.J. Antoni told John Solomon, a guy I really respect, an actual journalist, everything Obama told us was a complete lie. And so Antoni, who serves as chief economist at the Heritage Foundation, continued by saying, when he said, if you like your healthcare plan, you can keep your healthcare plan. No, he couldn't. He made a lot of those healthcare plans illegal. He said, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. No, it forced a lot of doctors out of business, and it forced a lot of doctors to no longer take most insurance. Consequences. But wait, it doesn't stop there. Again, from Just the News. The Obamacare secret at the heart of the shutdown, insurers made billions of dollars at taxpayer expense. Subsidies were greatly expanded by the Biden administration during the Wuhan 19 pandemic as an emergency measure, but Democrats fought to keep them permanent. Those subsidies went mostly to Democrat supporters. The 42-day federal shutdown forced by Democrats, thrust the economics of Obamacare into the limelight and exposed a very uncomfortable truth. An insurance industry whose executives are increasingly liberal donors to leftists, to Democrats. That insurance industry, has seen its earnings soar with the injection of taxpayer-funded subsidies that propped up Barack Obama's signature health program from collapse, because it was collapsing, and it was a series of lies before our very eyes. Gaslighting. It's a government failure. It's a total scrotal failure. It's a systemic failure. And again, I say, tell me how and where tell me where government really works well. To a degree, I would say the War Department, former Department of Defense, but even that is rife with kickbacks, massive amounts of cash infused to precisely the wrong people for the wrong reasons at the wrong times. It too was just a really, really big failure. Now, I have a lot of other stories, and I want to tell you right now. I won't be getting to them. I know that collectively right now, all of you are saying, and we're shocked about that because, well, you shouldn't be shocked. But let me tell you this. What I'm trying to do right now, and this is a little bit of advanced planning, with luck, and the creek don't rise, December 30th, which is a Tuesday, SHR will be having a special, an end of year special on my show in the Saloon. And I'm going to be asking everybody to say something like, okay, what do you think was the most important story of the year? What do you think are the most important aspects of the past year? Not even 1 year yet of Donald Trump. And then, of course, where do you think we're going to be going for 2026? Can you put on your thinking cap and prognosticate somehow into the future? And I'm really interested in hearing what everybody's going to potentially be saying about this. And then I'm going to throw open the phones. And if you want to weigh in on that show as well, you're certainly more than welcome to. We'll be talking about all of those things. Also, for example, who we lost in 2025. There were a lot of people that we lost in 2025. Between now and the end of the year, we may lose a few more people of note. But we'll be talking about that as well. Sean Lewis in chat says, baby, count on it. I'll be there. I'll be there. Wasn't that a Michael Jackson song? Yeah, that's nothing that you want to have BZ sing in front of you at all. Anyway, everybody have a great weekend. I put this up to say, hey, look, these are the shows that we bring to you. Now, I'm going to be closing the show out, but I want to remind you that we've got an SHR show for you every day of the week. Now, this coming Monday, Sean Lewis will be back with The Edge of Liberty. He's on Monday and Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. So you got to be there to watch him. Then Tuesday morning, there are two of us on Tuesday. There's Beginning the Day with Mission Ready Men, Earl Jackson on SHR. He's Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific and noon Eastern. He's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we got you covered Monday. Now we got you covered Tuesday. And now Wednesday, again, we return to the Edge of Liberty with Sean Lewis at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. So we got you covered Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then there's Thursday, back again in the morning with Earl Jackson of Mission Ready Men, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific. And then p.m. BZ right here in the Saloon Thursday night. And then also Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, Jersey Joe, the Reaver of Common Sense. He's also on Monday nights as well. So SHR, boys and girls, we got you covered. We got you covered literally every day of the week. So from me to you, I say it's Thursday night. It's 1 a.m. Eastern, and it's midnight Central and 10 p.m. Pacific. Thank you from the bottom of my little clotted heart for watching tonight. Maybe you were watching while you were walking. How can I say? I don't know for sure. Thanks to KLRN's Rick Robinson for doing the simulcast of the show tonight. Always massively appreciated. I'm betting that a lot of people don't have their shopping done. So I'm guessing this is going to be one busy ass weekend for people going out. Going to be a lot of traffic, a lot of folks, a lot of stores, etc. So just put it in gear, motate on along, and see if you can try for just in through the nose, out through the mouth. Namaste. Just think namaste. And then come back and see us on Monday. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. Thanks for watching live. Thanks for being in chat. Thanks for watching later in podcast. Always very much appreciated. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, Shure, and Electro Voice microphones. Arrakis Boards, the people that make my mixer. And also by the Pratt & Whitney Engine Company, manufacturing dependable engines producing thrust you can trust. Also, want to make sure that I acknowledge tiaras are by My Little Pony. Reindeer horns and flashing lights also courtesy of My Little Pony. And as per normal, thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I won't be consorting in less than about 10 minutes because I still am proscribed from drinking, but I can at least think about it, right? Thanks to all of you. Thanks to all y'all for being here. Everybody, God bless, take care, and be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Everybody.
Good night, Mama. Night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Dad. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.